February 3rd, 1959 is known as the day the music died, but the music didn't stop dying that day. No, it did not, because on April 17th, 1960, the world lost Eddie Cochran. Eddie was a pioneer in the rock and roll industry, born Edward Raymond Cochran on October 3rd, 1938, in Albert Lea, Minnesota. His family moved here to Southern California, more specifically Bell Gardens, and that house was demolished in the 80s, so I can't visit that location. He had many hits. Come On Everybody, Something Else, 20 Flight Rock, and my favorite, Summertime Blues. First time I actually heard of Eddie Cochran was, I was actually watching the movie La Bamba, and yeah, Eddie Cochran is in a scene on that movie. Like I said earlier, the day the music died didn't stop there. The deaths on that day, February 3rd, 1959, consists of Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, and Big Bopper. Eddie Cochran was really good friends with Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens. After that plane crash in 1959 that killed Ritchie Valens, Buddy Holly, and Big Bopper, Eddie became very paranoid. He assumed that he was going to pass away at an early age, just like they did. Yeah, he was really close to Buddy Holly and Ritchie Valens. This is Forest Lawn, Cypress, California. Right on the other side of this wall is Carson Street, and just like every other Forest Lawn cemetery, it's such a beautiful place to be buried. Got sculptures all around this area. Nice paintings over there. Entrance of the cemetery is actually over there, so Eddie Cochran is quite close to the entrance if you ever decide on visiting. A little distance from this statue over here is the grave of Edward R. Cochran, pioneer in the rock and roll industry. Alright, let's check out his headstone. This is a tribute to the beloved Eddie Cochran. We have some quarters on his headstone. 1938 through 1960. Not sure how good you can see that, but it says, "Heavenly music filled the air that very tragic day. Something seemed to be missing though. So I heard the creator say, we need a master guitarist and singer. I know of but one alone. His name is Eddie Cochran. I think I'll call him home. I know the folks on earth won't mind, for they will understand that the Lord loves perfection. Now we'll have a perfect band. So as we go through life, now we know that perfection is our goal, and we strive for this. So when we are called, we'll feel free to go." That is so beautiful. So yeah, Eddie Cochran's headstone stands out from the rest. It's much larger than all the others. On April 16th, 1960, after his final performance in England, Eddie was traveling in a taxi with his fiancée Sharon Sheely and Gene Vincent. That taxi crashed and Eddie was thrown from the vehicle. He had severe head injuries, and the very next day, April 17th, 1960, he was pronounced dead. The world lost another great musician, a great guitarist, and yeah, that's why I say the music didn't stop dying the day Ritchie Valens, Big Bopper, and Buddy Holly died. It's actually quite scary that Eddie had fears of passing at a young age, and those fears became a reality. The only difference is that Eddie died in a car accident, and Ritchie, Buddy, and Bopper died in a plane crash. It's like Eddie couldn't avoid that young death that he feared. Super sad. Eddie's fiancée, Sharon Sheely, wasn't killed in that accident. No, she survived, but she was injured though. So right here we have Eddie Cochran's gravesite. His headstone's right here. And right here is Sharon Sheely's grave, who was his fiancée at that time of his death, and she was in that car crash, but she survived that. She passed away in 2002 after complications from a brain aneurysm. After that car crash, Sharon continued songwriting, and yeah, she was eventually buried here many, many years after Eddie Cochran's death. Yeah, she really loved him. Let's actually check out her headstone for a second. So right there it says, in loving memory of Sharon K. Sheely, she was something else. We will miss you. April 4th, 1940, May 17th, 2002. So you got the musical notes right here because she was a songwriter. Sharon wrote Poor Little Fool for Ricky Nelson. So much talent right over here. Rest in peace, Eddie, and rest in peace, Sharon. Together forever here at Forest Lawn, Cypress. Other than Sharon Sheely, who's right below Eddie, are right next to Eddie is his parents, Frank Cochran and Alice Cochran, buried next to their son. And his dad actually passed away 2 years after his death, 1962. Yeah, the street right over this wall is Carson Street. I'm constantly on this street, and every time I pass by the cemetery, I always think right over this wall is the grave of a rock and roll legend, Eddie Cochran. I wonder if anyone thinks the same, or if anyone knows that he's even buried here. He passed away such a long time ago. That's what I think about every time I drive by this cemetery, driving by Carson Street in the city of Cypress. This is borderline Orange County and Los Angeles County, so I think it might be Orange County though. Eddie was a self-taught guitarist. He learned by listening to music on the radio, playing along with country music, and when his family moved here to California in 1952, like I said, Bell Gardens, sadly his house that he lived at that time was torn down in the 80s. I really wish I could visit it. It's just an empty parking lot now though. So he eventually met Hank Cochran, who had no relations to Eddie. They just had the same last name, and they formed the Cochran Brothers. They toured and recorded together, playing country music. The Cochran Brothers consist of Hank and Eddie. No connection whatsoever, just the same last name, which worked in their favor. Pretty cool that they got to call themselves the Cochran Brothers. Yeah, they played country music, and it wasn't until Eddie was exposed to Elvis Presley, and that's when he shifted his style of music from country to rock and roll and more of a rockabilly style type of music. Eddie went solo, and he had his first single, Skinny Jim. That marked his first entry into the rock and roll rockabilly genre, and the rest is pretty much history. Eddie was a true pioneer of rockabilly music. I don't know if rockabilly would be what it is today without the influence of Eddie Cochran. His ability to bridge the gap between country, blues, and rock and roll. Such amazing talent. Why do we always lose good talent, amazing talent, so early on in life? A very talented songwriter, a very talented guitarist, singer, artist in general. Yeah. They say the good always die young. One last look at Eddie Cochran before we go and end the video. Rest in peace, Eddie. All right, I'm calling it here from Forest Lawn, Cypress, California, visiting the grave of legendary rockabilly, rock and roll Hall of Famer, Eddie Cochran. So sad that he passed after fearing that tragic fate. Man, that is so wild. That's crazy. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Take care. God bless. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like. I will see you guys in the next video.